What's going on, Boxing Heads? This is PYP Boxing. It's David and Mark. What's going on, Mark? How are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. Had a lot of traveling. I was in Houston, and now I'm back in the Valley. I went to Houston and back in one day.
Back in the Valley. Orale. Hey, man. Well, shit, let's get into it. I was amazed by the fight I saw last weekend. Chris Eubank Jr. defeated Benn in a all-out British classic. This was basically the British version of Gaddy Ward. Nobody proved that they're really the best in any of their divisions in this fight. They just proved that they can fight and they can put on a good show. And that's what we saw on Saturday.
Yeah, David, that was an interesting fight. That was the biggest fight I've ever seen in Europe and the most electrifying fight that I've ever seen in Europe. I learned a lot. I never followed this story, never followed who these guys were or how big of an event that the people were waiting for. And to be waiting for a fight, we've been in that position in our end, waiting for huge fights like the Pacquiao Mayweather. And then when it comes, it's a dud. This one came and gave more than expectation. And I want to give a lot of credit to Benn. I'm not a big fan of any of these guys, but man, Benn being the smaller guy, taking those giant punches from what me seemed to be a towering man over him. The weight difference, the size difference was there. But Benn, if he was just a little bit bigger, man, if he was just a little bit bigger, I really liked it. Every single fight, every single round, David, every single round was entertaining. And if I had to pick a round, my personal opinion, my favorite round was the 9th round. That 9th round was back and forth. Every single one of these big fights, like your Gotti Wards, has a favorite round. Mine was the 9th. I wasn't happy with the decision. I really thought it was closer than that. I mean, I wanted to call it a draw or for Benn. What do you got on that, David?
Yeah, I had it a draw. There were some close rounds, but I gave those close rounds, a number of them, to Benn because he was hurting Eubank in those rounds, even though they were close. And if you're able to hurt your opponent in professional boxing, I think that's the main point. Regardless of whatever happened in that round, you hurt your opponent, you win that round. That's how I saw it. But I was surprised at the wide scoring on the live telecast. Do you think a rematch should happen?
You know, man, Benn did everything he could to win that, being the smaller guy. And I honestly think that's the best that he can do. And this fight took a lot out of both of these guys. David, I don't know if Benn is going to have it in him to give the equal performance that he gave this time. I mean, he was the smaller guy. And this was a really, really tough fight, man. It was brutal on both ends. Both of these guys left a little bit in the ring. I think this was the best that Conor could do against him. And it's a shame because, you know, Eubanks came out with the victory that I think maybe he should have just edged out. But if they fight again, I don't think Benn is going to be able to put out the same performance. And I don't want to, I would like to see it, but I just don't think Benn will give us, we're not going to see the same fight.
You know, I would like to see a rematch myself. I think so. Why not? It was a very competitive fight. But if you think about it, this kind of is a perfect ending for the family feud. Their fathers had 2 fights against each other. Chris Eubank won the first one. The second one was a draw. And now the sons fought the 3rd fight in the trilogy. If you look at it that way, they can end it on this note. But I think there are a couple other reasons why it shouldn't go on. Think about this, man. Benn, he's not a middleweight. He fights at 147 pounds. Or at least that's where he wants to campaign. And he hasn't made that weight in 3 fights already. It's been over 2 years. So if he risks fighting again at this weight, he's going to potentially put himself in danger of not making welterweight again. And that's where he wants to compete. He's not a big guy. He's not even a big welterweight. So I think he really needs to consider what he wants to do and where he wants to compete at, because if he tries to take another fight at 160, he might outgrow 147. As for Eubank, I don't think he really wins anything in beating Benn again. Why should he try to fight him for anything other than the paycheck? I mean, both of these guys, they're expected to clear either close to or a little bit over $10 million. That's a huge payday for 2 fighters who haven't won world titles yet. So The money makes sense. Go for the money, right? But if these guys want to be title holders and they want to win world championships and put their names in the, in the boxing history books, then Eubank needs to go ahead and start chasing titles at 160, not waste time with Conor Benn. And Conor Benn needs to go ahead and start getting his title, going for his title shot at 147, which is for Mario Barrios's WBC belt. And I think that's a winnable fight for Conor Benn. Great fight out there in the UK. And I love that atmosphere. It's a great time. But Mark, the USA has its own boxing festivities going on this weekend. Friday, May 2nd, we have a huge boxing card in Times Square. Ryan Garcia and Rolly Romero are headlining that. That fight still feels like a joke to me. I don't think it's a really serious fight. I preferred Pitbull as a comeback opponent for Ryan. We also have Teofimo Lopez versus Arnold Barbosa. We also have Devin Haney versus Jose Ramirez. Out of those three fights, Mark, which is the one that catches your eye the most?
I like them all. I like Ryan Rolly. And yeah, I agree, right? Rolly Romero's been the most politically helped fighter in the history of boxing. I see what you're saying about Rolly. The one that really catches my eye, and they're all fun fights, is Teofimo Lopez Barbosa, because Barbosa has a chance, a real chance here to meet his goal, his life goal. And it's been a struggle for him. Here he is, 30-some years old. He's been waiting for a long time. He's been the bridesmaid, never the bride, and a lot of it had to do with Teofimo Lopez not wanting to marry him. And Teofimo Lopez has kind of got cornered into this fight, and I think it's at the best moment for Barbosa, because I think this is the best Barbosa that has ever been, this version. Why? Because of the talent he's been fighting. I like that Barbosa has kept the mental fortitude through this whole thing, waiting year and year after year for this guy. Finally, he gets it. And not only this guy, other opportunities, any world title opportunity, it's finally here. It was a long road for him. And if you think of the mental fortitude it took for him to get here, I mean, Teofimo's on the other spectrum. It's all bad for Teo lately. All the racial stuff, the stuff with Canelo, he did, they kicked him off that team. He's been here and there with Top Rank. I just think it's too much going around Teo right now. And I don't think he's mentally as tough as Barbosa. I think right now Barbosa lives the boxing life a lot more seriously than Teofimo. I think Barbosa is the best 1-2-1 combination thrower in boxing. He's got very fast footwork in and out. He's got ridiculous stamina. And those combos, that stamina and that quick in and out footwork and his beautiful boxing skills is going to lead him to a victory. And right now, his mental fortitude, man, he's way above the Teo, and that it's his moment. I think he's going to win it. I'm excited for it.
I like that fight too. I was interested in that one. I think it's going to be a little bit more competitive than people expect. I think Teofimo is the favorite in this fight. I was going to pick Barbosa with this too, Mark. I think I'm going to go with Teofimo. I think he's too fast for Barbosa. I know you don't agree with that. I do think that Teofimo is a little too quick. And to be honest, Barbosa is coming in with the momentum, but he's fought some stinkers himself. We talk about Teofimo's inconsistency, but Barbosa has fought some stinkers and had some questionable decisions on his own end. I think he's beatable. I don't think his footwork, he does move, but his footwork isn't as quick as people think. I think Teofimo has a speed edge on that, but that's a damn good fight. The one I'm looking forward to the most is Haney versus Jose Ramirez. For the fact that most people are picking Haney, Ramirez has been an afterthought in this fight. Everybody's assuming that Haney is going to meet Ryan Garcia later on in Riyadh. I don't think Jose Ramirez is going to play ball. And you know what? You got to give it to Devin. This is a much tougher comeback fight than Ryan Garcia is taking. Ryan Garcia's comeback is Rolly Romero. Devin Haney's comeback fight is Jose Ramirez. He's a real guy, a unified champ at 140, or was. He no longer has to squeeze himself down and make weight. We could see a renewed version of Ramirez. I think he's going to test Devin Haney's jaw. I think Ramirez will be the spoiler and mess up the plans for Haney. Then Saturday, May 3rd, we have Canelo Alvarez versus William Scull. I'm not very excited about this fight. This is probably the card I'm looking forward to the least, but there are still some interesting fights on this card. Also on the card is Jaime Munguia versus Bruno Soras in the rematch of their upset of the year that took place in 2024. And also will be Efe Ajagba and Martin Bakole in a heavyweight bout.
It's a full Canelo team effort down there. It's Munguia, Canelo, and Marco Verde. They're all down there. I'm interested in Marco Verde, of course, the Mexican silver medalist that all of Mexico is expecting his debut. Man, big time debut on Canelo's cards. It pays to be promoted by Canelo. Side note, he is not going to be trained by Verde Reynoso. He will be continued to be trained by his father, but he's on the Canelo team. And also, yeah, I'm interested in the Canelo fight. Who isn't? It's the biggest fight of the year every year. Canelo's back. It's Canelo week. Listen, I'm excited for two things. He's going to stick it to the IBF, who's been a thorn on his side for a long, long time. Always picking at him, always making him fight mandatories. Canelo is the man. He makes the needle move. Favoritism is all over the sport. If you're going to give other people favoritism, you got to give it to Canelo. And not even, we're not asking for favoritism, but I mean, the WBA has a world title or a version of it where they make you, other organizations give you a title so they don't mess with you. The IBF here has been sticking it to him for a while. When they stripped him, they took his undisputed title away from him. So now the effect of that is he's going to fight William Scull again. And it's for one reason only. That's his belt. He wants it back. And he'll be a two-time undisputed champion in the four-belt era that not a lot of people have. Possibly 5 when he goes to 175, given maybe that Benavides leaves, which everything to me seems that's possible. People don't like this fight, Canelo versus Scull. It's not a legacy fight, a title fight for him, a hardware fight, a accolade fight. It adds to his trophy case. Big, though. It adds to his trophy case big because it makes him the undisputed champion in the four-belt era again. So IBF, you're picking on him, you're pushing him, and, these are the results. His legacy gets better. His resume looks damn better. And again, he's undisputed in the four-belt era twice, possibly going to 175 and becoming undisputed again. I mean, Canelo gets them again. He always wins at the end. So, yeah, I like this fight because of that, David. He's going to stick it to the IBF, who's been a thorn on his side for a really long time.
He's not really sticking it to the IBF, though, Mark, because he's still paying them that sanctioning fee. So they're getting their money. He ain't sticking nothing. If anything, they're sticking him. I got to say that whole two-time undisputed thing, while it may be official, and yes, he's going to go down in the record books as a two-time undisputed, the way you keep saying it, and it's just a farce. It's a farce. Look it up, folks. It's a farce. Even though he will be a two-time undisputed champion, that distinction does not deserve to be mentioned with Usyk or Bud Crawford or Inoue, who all did it by fighting champions, and they both did it in different divisions. Canelo never lost his IBF belt. They stripped him of that belt. He's just fighting for the belt that he never lost. This is basically the same fight that was supposed to happen instead of Edgar Berlanga.
But that brings up a lot of conversation. Do you think Canelo knew this was going to happen when the IBF was threatening to take this belt away?
If there's one thing we've learned about Canelo, it's this. He does not like to be told what to do.
Yeah.
He doesn't deal with mandatories well. Like we're going to strip you with this. Hey, they say, hey, here's your mandatory. Fight him when you feel like it, right? That's the best way to come at Canelo. You can give him a mandatory challenger, but you don't tell him when to fight the guy. He'll decide when it's time to fight him. And that's basically how it should be, right? At least, and I give something that you said earlier in your take. I think it kind of makes sense. With Canelo, you give him a little bit of leeway, right? You don't
Gotcha.
try to force him and say, hey, we're going to take your belt away. So
Yeah, because now you got two-time undisputed they created.
yeah, but it's not the same accomplishment that Bud Crawford, Inoue, and Usyk did. So I don't get it twisted, people. Yes, it will be official and he'll go down in the record books that way, but it's not the same. I was not asking for the William Scull or Canelo fight, so I'm not really interested in that one. The Jaime Munguia Bruno Soras rematch, that does pique my interest, but I'm really interested in Efe Ajagba versus Martin Bakole. That fight has really gone under the radar when you talk about all of these events. A little bit of shine did come off of this fight when Bakole took a loss to Joseph Parker, but he had that fight on less than 1 week's notice, and he was out of shape. Shouldn't have taken that fight, but he did. He got paid, and he got stopped. Bakole will have a real training camp versus Ajagba. He should be prepared and ready, and somebody is getting knocked out in this fight. These guys are too big, and both of them have too much power. Ajagba has looked more improved since working with trainer Flick Emanuel. His technique is cleaned up. He's boxing a bit more than he did earlier in his career, but will it be enough against Bakole? I think that loss that Bakole took to Parker gives Ajagba a little bit of an extra boost to want to test that chin. Maybe the invincibility of Bakole is now gone after the way he lost to Parker. Or maybe it's all smoke and mirrors, and what we saw from Bakole was a man that had no business being in the ring. I think Bakole will be ready for this fight, and we will totally see a different fighter on May 3rd. I liked Bakole in that one by stoppage. And then, Mark, to close out the weekend on May 4th, Sunday night, we have the monster invading the U.S. I think this is his 4th time in the U.S. He will be fighting San Antonio's own Ramon Cardenas. On the undercard, in the co-main event, we have Rafael El Divino Espinoza. He will face Fort Worth, Texas's Edward Vazquez. Vazquez, quick note, his only loss to Raymond Ford and Joe Cordina. Both of those losses were close and controversial decisions. And then you also have Emiliano Vargas, who will be in his 5th fight at super lightweight. He will be taking on Juan Leon out of Spain. Do any of those fights catch your eye?
Absolutely, man. Homegrown Texas, Ramon Dinamita Cardenas and Ronnie Cantu are friends, man, from San Antonio, Texas, against Inoue. Absolutely, that fight. We spoke to Ronnie earlier this month when they found out they were getting this fight. They were ridiculously happy. Told me the story about it. He told me what happened is, and I asked them what their mental was like, knowing that they were giving guys like Picasso a chance and other guys a chance before Ramon. And we all know Ramon is way better than some of these guys that were speaking of putting up with Inoue like Picasso. I asked him, hey, man, did that really just get you guys mad? And he said, no, we can only get mad about what we can control. And and preach that. And that's the way they got through this mentally. You can only control what we can control. If we get it, we get it. If we can't, we can't. It was a little bit frustrating, but they got through it. It's going to be a big fight for them. I mean, nobody expects Ramon Cardenas to win. If he does win, I'll give them this. It's going to be because of his pop. He does have pop. He doesn't have fear. And he's got a damn good trainer in his corner. Been around for a long time, Joel Diaz, who just had another fight with Crawford and made him look pretty pedestrian. So those are a couple of things that Ramon has going for him. But I fully expect Inoue to stop him.
There's no doubt Ramon can punch, and he's a smart fighter, has a quick left hook. Yes, he's up against one of the top 3 best fighters in the world. But one thing's for sure, Ramon is very confident about his chances, and he's going to put up a fight versus the man known as the Monster. The fight that I think is the one that stands out is Espinoza versus Vazquez, because I think Vazquez is going to give Divino a tough fight. Of course, Vazquez is out of Fort Worth, Texas. It's another Texas fighter, has an interesting style. He crouches and throws his punches out of different angles. He has this overhand right that he launches out of a crouched position, but as he throws it, he brings his back foot to the front and puts himself in a southpaw stance. it's a nice punch, and it helps him defensively avoid counters. Orlando Canizales, another Texas fighter, bantamweight from the 90s, he did this a lot too. Vazquez is a tough fight for Divino. He's never been stopped, and he's been fighting with a chip on his shoulder ever since those 2 losses. He'll be coming to win versus the champion from Mexico. I think Divino's height is going to be a tall order for Vazquez. I see Divino coming out on top, but Vazquez is going to give him a fight, folks. Watch that one. I'm pretty sure that one's going to be a good one. Well, this is going to be an epic weekend of boxing, a lot of star power and good matchups in every single event. What will you be watching? Is there an event that you're passing on? Let us know in the comments. Tell us what fight you're looking forward to the most. Enjoy the fights this weekend, everyone, and keep those hands up. Mark, do you have anything you want to say?
Watch these fights. This is one of the best weekends of fighting in boxing history. Literally one of the best weekends in pro boxing fighting in history. You got major events with major titles on the line Friday, Saturday, and on the Sabbath. We got chingazos on the Sabbath, David.
All right, this is PYP Boxing, and we're out.